Tired of screwing up, tired of going down, tired of myself, tired of this town.
Eminent Waste of Time, episode 21. I'm Doug.
And I'm Chad.
And our episode can legally drink now.
Yay.
Is that how that works?
Can you feed an episode beer?
People might argue that we probably already have done so if they've listened to the previous ones.
They have to be drunk.
There's something really, really wrong there.
Well, you fine folks, you have to be drunk if you're enjoying it. No, I'm teasing.
It might help, though. We're probably a little punchy because it's really nice here today.
Oh, it was beautiful. My truck said it was 78, 79 degrees when I was driving home from work.
What is today? The 21st or 20th? I think it's the 20th.
Yeah.
February 20th. And my car, when I left Indy today, 77 degrees.
Yep. I was a little south of you by an hour, so
I'll take it.
Yep. Oh, man, I went outside at lunch, and normally I don't even really take a lunch break. I just eat and go back to work. I got things to do. Leave me alone.
So you want to take any bets on what the weather is going to be on the opening day of races?
Oh, it's going to be snow probably.
Well, just for reference, last year, the week before the first race, which was around the same time, it was right, second week of March. The weekend before that, it was 55 degrees and sunny.
Yep.
I mean, it was picturesque. It was absolutely beautiful. Week of the race, snow, lows.
18?
Yeah,
10?
I mean, highs in the low 20s, lows in the, getting dangerously close to single digits. In fact, I froze a water line in my camper.
Yeah, the water froze up, and it was cold, and it was miserable. That was a rough one, yeah.
So
race season is upon us, though.
Yeah, actually, one of the race series around here called Crossroads had a race this past weekend when it was not anything like 70 degrees and sunny.
Oh, yeah. So you guys will have, it hasn't posted yet as of when we're recording this, but I have a post scheduled for tomorrow morning on Eminent Performance's Facebook page, and it's Barry Miller in his X3, and I sent Doug the picture to show him when I was setting it all up. Just covered in mud.
I mean, you can see the suspension squatting because he's carrying around 800 pounds of mud. I mean, no exaggeration.
Least, yeah. And you guys, if you want to see the picture, go ahead and head over to Facebook and check it out over there.
But I'm also going to edit one into the video here and be sneaky about it.
Flash.
There's a video right now. Or picture.
Picture, yeah. Anyway.
Video of a picture.
Man, I saw it, and I have a picture of him rolling up to the start line, which Doug will maybe get fancy and put in here, and then a picture of him, mid-race. He ended up blowing a belt and getting second. It's like, I put in the post that you guys will see. It's hard on machines carrying around that 800 extra pounds. Yeah. I mean, think about it this way. So the average, we'll say you haul firewood with your UTV, you might put 800 pounds worth of firewood on it, and now race with that.
Yeah.
And run as hard as you can for an hour.
Lot of the sport UTVs are not designed to carry that kind of weight around. I mean, a lot of the utility ones are rated for maybe 1,200 pounds.
Yeah.
And they're designed for that, but that's the upper limit. You talk putting Barry Miller's he's not a huge guy, but he's not a small guy either. He's north of 200 pounds and 800 plus pounds of mud and everything else. You're probably beyond what it was designed to carry in nice conditions, let alone some of these hills you scramble up in cross-country racing are better than 30 degrees.
Yeah. Well, I mean, most side-by-sides like the sport ones, the actual bed capacity is 600 pounds, and you're well above that. So, towing capacity, yeah, you can be 1,500 pounds, but this is like 800 or 1,000 pounds of mud purely on the machine.
Yeah.
And
like we've said before, it's a lot of wide-open throttle. It's a lot of very hard use.
Yeah. So he said that he had backed off the throttle to try, and he saw his belt temps just coming up through the roof, and he backed off to try and save it and just finish the race out, but it let go, and he ended up with second. But still, so in the picture, you guys, who want to go see it or have looked at it here on the video, there in the muddy picture, there is a passenger in there. I think it's his wife is who I think
it is. It looks vaguely like a female face.
It is. Well, if you look in the before one, it's her sitting in the passenger seat, and I assume it's still her in it when he's racing. She is so covered in mud, you can't distinguish her from every other mud piece in it. It's just, it was a nasty one.
I saw some other pictures from another racer that I follow. I think I've mentioned him on the podcast. He races dirt bikes. His name is Clay Harden.
Yep.
And same thing, man. I mean, his wheels just completely caked in. His frame and motor just completely one solid block of mud. He's got snow on him. I mean, it was miserable. His mom said that it was the muddiest track she's ever seen. And he runs Crossroads. He runs IXCR. He runs MWXC. I mean, the kid races all the time.
Yeah.
And this was the worst track conditions they had seen.
Yeah.
It's hard to get excited about racing in February in this part of the country.
Right. I showed the picture of Barry Miller side by side to a guy I work with, and he laughed and he just said, "Why?" And I was like, "Well, because it's racing and it's fun."
Yeah.
And he goes, "How do you get all that mud off?" And I told him about our first race last season, where it was essentially the same thing. I said, I spent 5 hours with a pressure washer, just trying to blow the mud off.
Yeah, you can't go to a car wash because you'll spend your life savings trying to get that done.
Yeah. Oh, you better just buy $100 pressure washer, hope it holds out for the season, and just be done.
Yeah, exactly.
It'll be money ahead, trust me. But yeah, race season's upon us.
But it's really exciting that it's here. I mean, I'm really pumped. I mean, we're looking at MWXC is going to kick off here on the 10th and 11th. It's the weekend that's got the 11th in it. So whether it's the 11th and 12th or 10th and 11th, whatever that is. And I'm pumped. Like, I am ready to go. In fact, I'm getting ready to put a Facebook post up asking people to contribute songs.
Oh.
Because I have to DJ.
Yep.
And I've got a pretty good mix, but I don't mean to sound like an old fart, but there's a lot of people out there younger than me. So I'm going to give them some guidelines. It's got to be relatively family friendly because there are all ages there.
Yep.
And I'll be the final judge on what that means. But I thought, if I could get some suggestions in there and pack another 50 to 100 songs in the mix, cool.
What if it's all Justin Bieber?
I'm going to have a little bit of faith in the racing community that is not going to happen.
Yeah.
And if it does, I'm going to pay them back something fierce.
So I don't think we've ever actually told this story, but Doug and I don't know, we kind of got drafted right away into the race series, and
we volunteered and they heartily took us up on that.
Yeah. So, and that's fine. We're all for that. But the guy who did the announcing in all the prior years, he was wanting to get out of it because he has a long drive. It was like 3 or 4 hours for him to get there.
And he also has a job where he basically does road construction. So during the summer, they want him to work Saturdays, if not Saturdays and Sundays.
Yep.
Which is when we race. So it really was interfering with his job as well.
Yeah. So we basically got thrown into the mix. Doug took over doing the announcing bit, and I was just like, I'll just do track sweep. It was easier for me to get the side-by-side ready to step away from track sweeping for the last race right before ours and do that, than be like, I can't announce now, I have to go do other things. But anyway, I could not tell you how many people came up to Doug and to me and were so thrilled with the music choices over what the previous announcer had done, because he had, I don't know, 20 songs that he played.
He said he had hundreds on there, but I'm telling you what, that first weekend we were there, I heard Creepin'. Like 500 times, I think.
Oh.
Even you weren't up there that often because you were out sweeping. You only came back by. I mean,
I'd come by 2 or 3 times in each race, maybe.
Yeah, maybe. And sometimes not even that. And you're like, I heard it every time I was there.
Yeah, I'm like, how the crap is this song still on? Why is it like this?
That became a joke for the rest of the season.
Oh, yeah. We just randomly yell creeping.
I did not have that in the mix. I was really super tempted one race when I knew you're going to be by to flip over to it, but I couldn't bring myself to do it.
I would have just crashed my quad into the speaker towers to take them out. No! Oh.
So I'm going to keep the same mix because it went over well, and I like most of the music on it. I say most because I threw some stuff in there that I'm not a huge fan of, but you've got to cater to everybody.
That chew tobacco spit, that song.
Yeah, just country in general. I mean, I live in a place where I really should like it, but there's some I appreciate.
Some of it's good. I'm not saying all.
I mean, I really like Chris Stapleton, but I don't know. The rest of it I could kind of like pop country, I guess.
Frat boy country, as I call it.
Yeah, frat boy country. The stuff that is a little more popular with the younger crowd. I I'm just not interested in it. But I'm probably going to get some suggestions for that. And as long as it's clean, I'll throw it in there because I want to include everybody.
Hey, wait. Now, we have an audience right here listening to us. Why don't you guys throw suggestions of music you would like to hear if you were at the racetrack?
Yeah. Again, clean, family friendly. We're racing from 5 to 85 out there. So
years old, not miles per hour.
Well, both.
But
there's some peewees out there going 5.
Yeah, there are. There's some slow ones. No, but what music do you guys like to hear? There's a lot of rock and classic rock and all that stuff in there. Some stuff to kind of get you, I guess, pumped up for racing. But
I described it as my questionable mix of hits from the 70s through the 2000s.
Yeah. So, but I mean, really, anything that you like to listen to that you would like to listen to on a race weekend, throw it in the comments of the video, send us a message on Facebook, any of that stuff. We'd like to hear what you guys would like to.
Absolutely. I will take your suggestions to heart, and I'm sure I'll throw some of that in there along with what I'm getting out of there. But I think I've got like 160-ish songs right now. So it's like 10 continuous hours. So in one day, you won't hear the same song twice, which is more than you can say for your local radio station.
Right.
But I'd kind of like to get to the point where I have a weekend worth.
Yeah. And Doug and I set up that playlist basically on chat when he and I were at work. They're just like chatting back and forth, listing off songs. And really, the way we did it was we didn't want to have more than one song from a single artist.
Yeah.
And so, like, if you have an Aerosmith song in there, you're only getting one Aerosmith song. You don't get two, even though they might have 100 good ones. Just one. Now, there's a couple exceptions, I know, but not very many.
I went back through and added some more in, but there's no more than 2 by any given artist because I wanted to have a variety in there. I didn't just want to be like Led Zeppelin's greatest hits and some Metallica and Garth Brooks and call it a day.
Yeah, or like all Weezer songs.
Which I could probably do because I love Weezer.
Yeah, they're good too, but definitely not everybody's cup of tea.
Well, before we get any farther, I'm going to eat some crow. Now, nobody called me on this. I'm admitting it of my own free will.
Which one?
James Bond.
Oh, okay.
Okay, when I told you that they named it
You Only Live
You
Twice.
Only Live Twice.
Yeah.
That wasn't the movie I was thinking of. And you know what's funny is
you lied to me and I knew no better.
I didn't even read about it. I was listening to the podcast as I was editing and I jumped to that section and I was like, that's not right. It's Never Say Never Again, which makes even more sense.
Yes,
that's why they named it that. Never Say Never Again, because he said he was never going to do it, and he did.
Okay.
So I'm going to eat some crow of my own volition because it was just a brain fart. And when I got home and listening, I'm like, no, I know that's wrong. It's this movie. So that was my bad.
While we're on, giving each other grief on things, you gave me grief about the trivia with you that Alaska didn't have the U.S. and Canadian border wasn't whatever distance.
5,800 miles or whatever.
Yeah, whatever it was. And it is, isn't it? Now, I will say there is like a gotcha / twist catch in it. It's like whatever the number I said it was, and I don't remember, and I don't have the fact in front of me now, but we'll call it 5,800 miles.
Right.
But that included the border between Alaska and Canada also.
Now, see, but if you go back and listen to the podcast, that's what I said.
Did you?
I said, now does that include Alaska? Because that's going to change the number significantly.
Oh, yeah. I didn't catch that you had said that.
So I wasn't necessarily giving you crap. I was just having trouble believing if it was just from like California to Maine or whatever.
Oh, yeah.
There's no way.
That was like 3,500 miles.
And I think I guessed
3,900 miles.
Something like 3,200 or 3,300. So I was closer if you didn't include Alaska.
Closer, but still wrong.
Okay. So I was wrong all last week, and I'm admitting it here and now.
Don't let your wife listen to this. You will never live it down.
So I want to get to a few things here. First and foremost, there are rumors of a Razor Turbo S to be released soon. So they're not wasting any time.
Well, I'm going to say... Now, everybody knows I'm not like a massive Razor fan, a Polaris fan in general. I do actually, I'm sitting in seats, I know. Hey, their seats are comfy.
Yeah, they are.
I do like the RS1.
Mm-hmm.
I like that. I think it's very neat. It does need some tweaking to get it race ready, we'll say. But man, it's a good platform, and for what you're getting, it's dirt cheap. 13 grand.
That is some fast fun for the money.
Oh yeah, I mean, now you can only do it by yourself, but if that's how you ride, like if your wife or you don't have kids or whatever, and they don't ride with you, 13 grand is bargain basement, especially for a 1,000cc machine.
I think I would like to have a mock 50 cal gun on like a mount.
Yeah.
And just, make a standing platform in the back of it and just ride around like that.
A swivel seat.
Yeah, you can still go 2 up.
But back to the Turbo S, that right there. So, Doug, you remember in our race season last year, all the narrow machines did really well.
Yes, they did.
And even if they were undersized CC-wise, they could still do pretty well out there simply because they were so much narrower.
Yeah. Because once you got into the woods, the big CC leg stretching advantage disappeared. You can only go so fast through narrow trees.
So now all of a sudden, this Turbo S is the best of both worlds for a cross-country racer.
Yeah.
It's narrow, yet has, I don't know the horsepower specs yet, but it's got to be darn near what the normal XP is. They might detune it a little bit because they're worried about people balling them up, but what they detune, you can always get back.
Sure.
But it really is the ultimate of XC racers. Because even like the Can-Am X3s, they narrow them as much as they can. They're still big machines to get through the woods.
Yeah.
So I'm looking forward to seeing this. I don't think it's going to be anything earth-shattering. I don't think it's going to be anything new or amazing particularly. But I do think it will be great for that guy wanting to pick up a cross-country race machine and still fit it through the woods at speed well and have plenty of power.
Yeah, I'm really excited to see what it's going to do as well. I think it could be a real competitor out there. I'd like to think that Razors listen to all the bashing we've given them.
Yeah.
Polaris.
I think they might.
They're listening to the podcast, and now they're doing the right things just because of us.
I think so, because it seems like since we've started doing this, they've straightened their act up a little bit.
It's awful coincidental. I'm just saying.
Way to pay attention, Polaris. It's okay. You don't have to send us money yet, but at some point we will be calling in favors.
Machines, stuff like that. It's fine.
Yeah, you can just drop them off. We'll play with them for a while.
In fact, I really emphatically said that I liked the 4-star General. So.
You do? Yeah.
One other thing about the RS1, so we were speculating in that Works race, it was running out in front and looking really good doing it. And so we speculated last podcast quite a bit about horsepower to weight advantage. There isn't one.
Not enough of one to really be concerned about.
I was amazed. That thing only weighs about 200 pounds less than its full side-by-side UTV configuration cousin.
Yep.
And honestly, the fact that it's slightly detuned, there virtually isn't a horsepower to weight difference.
No, they're probably really close to the same.
And so I'm really, really interested, because basically what that tells you is they have the suspension sorted out. It's a very good chassis. And because it's narrow, it just runs away from the other machines out there.
Yeah. Well, I mean, it's not that much more narrow. I think it's still 64 inches wide. So it's still pretty big.
Oh, I didn't think it was that wide. I thought it was closer to 60. I mean, that's not based on fact. That was just based on me.
I'm going to say I'm pretty sure, like 99% sure that it's 64 inches wide.
But they've got that thing sorted out then.
Oh, yeah. And I really do think that because there's no fenders, like no over fenders.
Right.
And it's open wheeled, and because you sit in the middle and the body is so narrow, you can see both sides of the suspension. You can see right where you're putting your tires. And that is a massive advantage, because we talked about that with our rig.
Oh, man.
That was the biggest problem.
That haunted us all year long. We couldn't tell.
I had no idea.
The right front wheel, you had no idea where it was.
No, I mean, you literally are guessing where you're putting it just because of the design of our machine. I had no idea where I was putting that tire, and it was purely a guess most of the time.
And it's also got that kind of tapered snout.
Mine does, yes.
And so it's really, that just makes that effect even worse.
Right, because the nose is coming together, like pointing towards the middle, and the tires are going straight out there. So it's like, how far out is it? And it was just really difficult to get through there at speed and confidently know where you're putting the tires.
Well, again, I'm really going to be interested to follow Polaris this year with the new models that are out.
Yeah.
And see how they're doing. And we talked about our friend Steve Mueller, who has one of the new Dynamics rigs.
Yep.
Says he likes it, and I'm going to be following him very closely because I'll be seeing a lot of him out there at the races.
So this coming weekend, and this will kind of transition into some of the stuff on the list here, but a lot of the races are kicking up this weekend. I mean, Crossroads ran last weekend, but GNCC opening weekend is this coming weekend.
Yep.
And Midwest Side by Side, which isn't a massive series, but they're an up and coming anyway. And obviously, all they run is side by sides. Their opening weekend is this weekend. Now, this is obviously for Midwest Side by Sides. It's assuming the weather holds together because they're talking for where we are and where they're running anywhere between 3 to 5 inches of rain this week.
A lot of it seems to be missing us here because I've talked to some folks back up north.
Yeah, they're getting it.
There's flooding up there. There is massive flooding up there. And we haven't seen that yet. It seems to be skirting us, so we're hoping that weather pattern holds.
Yeah.
But you never know. Mother Nature can swing that around on a dime, and that could be paddle tires.
Yeah. Well, I was thinking about, I got to check with the wife and see what she's got going on. But I was thinking about maybe making a day trip over to the racing, I think, over in Illinois for Midwest Side by Side and just go over there and watch.
Yeah, absolutely. When's that?
This Saturday.
I don't think I'm doing anything.
Might be a fun day trip. So anyway, but man, a lot of the race series are kicking off. Banged Up Racing over in Ohio, they held I'm going to call it like a pre-race season kickoff race.
It was basically a 3-state scramble. So it was Ohio, Indiana, and
I'm wanting to say Kentucky.
I think it was it was Kentucky. The turnout was low. Honestly, it's very, very early in the season. This is not a normal race that's been established and happening for years. This is the first time they've ever tried to do it. And I think people were probably leery of tearing their machines up before the real race season because there's no points here.
Well, there were, but the points didn't transfer to any series.
Right. And number two, for better or worse, a lot of us racers are procrastinators. There's a lot of people that probably still didn't have their stuff together.
I'm normally pretty good about getting my stuff back together. I'm still working on it, quite honestly, because I got sent wrong parts, and I'm just fighting it right now. I mean, I can have it together in 15 minutes as soon as my parts make it here, but just one thing after another right now. And I know I talked to lots of guys who are, we talked to them at the banquet that we went to a month or so ago, and they were like, yep, haven't touched it. Rolled it out of the trailer from the last race, and there she sits in the garage.
Exactly.
So, but then coming up here soon, IXCR is in 2 weeks, is that right?
March 3rd and 4th in Attica, 2 weeks.
Yep, that's the Badlands up there. Now, for those of you who don't know the Badlands up there in Attica, Indiana, I think IXCR, that is the most brilliant move they can make is put it up there at the Badlands because that place is mostly sand.
Yeah.
Whereas a lot of other ground around here is clay, and it just holds water. And especially in the spring, it's just soft. It's nasty.
And because it's an off-road park, there's a lot more width and a lot more openness there than some of these other tracks that you typically find.
Yeah, because they let Jeeps and everything else in there. So the trail's already knocked back. All they really do is go in there and stake it and arrow it and stuff like that. They don't have to fight too much.
Yeah, because some of these tracks, honestly, the width is not for lack of trying. It's some of these farmers are saying you can only take out trees that are, say, 4 inches and smaller.
Yeah.
And so if there's 2 6-inch trees that are 59.5 inches apart, they stay.
Yeah.
Now, what I have heard of some of the racers doing, Matt Rao, who's, big racer, he's kind of backing off of I don't even know if he's racing this year, but he's a kind of a real force to be reckoned with when he does run.
Yeah.
But he takes a stick out that is the exact width of his tires, and he walks the track. And if he finds a spot that he can't run at speed or just flat out can't fit through, he actually stakes himself out a different route and goes that way. He's like, if I can't hit it at speed, I've got 25 feet from the marked, path to make a pass. I'm going to take it.
Honestly, some people would say that's cheating. He is abiding every rule in that rule book.
He is.
And
if he's willing
props to him.
And if he's willing to put in the prep work, which a lot of people will not do, that's why you're on top. It takes time. It's not just going out there and running blind. He's doing the work. And
I really do think that was a lot of our problem last year. Because even when I track swept, there were some people who kind of made mention of, oh, you're out there on the track, you must know it really well. I purposely stayed off the side-by-side track completely. I didn't want to know it. I didn't want that unfair advantage where people say, oh, you knew the track. I didn't know it any better. There's people from the side-by-side class that were out there walking it all day prior to the race. They knew it. I wouldn't know it. Yeah. I learned that track the first time around, and I'm like, okay, I got to memorize it.
Because you didn't have time to get out there and walk it like they were.
No. And I didn't do, where I could take a stick and I could measure, and I didn't know, okay, this is going to be tight going in here.
Yeah.
Nope, just whatever. Because normally the side-by-side track is not run on the same trail as the rest of them. You might cross, and they might come together for a little bit, and then they quickly veer off.
And see, I always had visions of being the co-driver, doing that kind of stuff, getting some race prep done for you. But as soon as I got sucked into announcing, that wasn't happening.
Yeah. And so maybe we should have thrown that in with our, 2 podcasts ago, we talked about what to expect when racing.
Do your homework.
Do your homework. I mean, get out there, walk the track. Man, the stick idea is a beautiful one. That's great. Do that. Just know that track because, we did okay. I think we're both smart enough people that we could memorize a track pretty quick, but
it definitely wasn't to our advantage to not have knowledge.
Right.
So yeah, if you can get out there and spend some time and do a little homework and, measure your rig, know exactly how wide it is.
And I think the last series,
if you're scared to take that stick and run full speed between 2 trees, you're not going to drive through it.
Put the stick in your teeth and run between the trees. If you won't do it, don't drive through that space. I'm picturing dentist bills.
Explain to me again, sir, how this happened. Well, you see.
It'd be funny, though. I think Midwest Cross Country is the last series to fire off this year as far as a normal series.
Midwest usually is the last to start and the last to finish.
Yeah.
We run a little bit later. And the first round, there's no Pee-wee and no side-by-side, so it's going to be a little bit shorter. This track that we run on has several creek crossings and tends to hold water. And in
with
March,
the soft ground and everything else,
you're planning on snow melting and everything else. And man, UTVs are just going to be really super hard on a track like that. So just to basically make sure nothing happens, we usually don't run round 1. Same with Pee-wees. It's just not worth having them get stuck in the mud and being out there in possibly really crappy temperatures like they were last year. It's not worth it.
Yeah. And I think this year in Midwest Cross Country, we wouldn't race round 1, 9, and 12, if I remember right.
That's correct.
Three rounds that side-by-sides are not permitted. And the other ones, I believe, are because of the size of the property, or whatever, just the configuration of the property. It doesn't lend itself to side-by-sides. And that could be because of the landowner or whatever, like Doug was talking about, not letting them take out trees.
Some of these properties, as we noted, were 100 acres, and 20 to 25 of that was missing because of parking, and that's tough to run side-by-sides and have a dedicated course. I mean, you're basically having to double up with dirt bike and quad quite a bit to have enough room to run, and man, that's really, really hard to do that and have it hold up over a weekend.
Well, it's hard. It's not hard for the side-by-sides because they just walk all over it, but there is no track left for those dirt bikes.
You don't want to be
ever after it.
Yeah, you don't want to be the Sunday racers there.
No, it's miserable for them, and I've seen it, and it's just nasty. So, one of the other things that's on there that I got invited to that I may try and make a trip out of it. Now it's out east a little bit more, and I was talking to Steve Mueller about it a little bit, but he's trying to set up the same thing over in his area. What is it called? It's there on the bottom with the exclamation marks, if I could remember what it was called.
Off-Road Speedway Series.
Off-Road Speedway Series. Now, we wouldn't, if I go out east to run it, then it will be their series probably. If Steve gets some stuff set up locally, then I don't know what it'll be under. But basically, you run on like late model dirt tracks, and then they put a couple jumps and turns in the infield, and that's what it is.
Nice.
So everyone can see all of the race, pretty much the entire race from the stands. All the spectators can. There's no trees to hit. You get to run flat out and hard, so you're not like, oh, the track's too narrow here. I mean, they make it 2 to 3 side-by-sides wide the whole way, and then you get out on the banked dirt track, and you can run
Man,
fast.
that sounds awesome.
Oh, yeah, I was thrilled. Now, it's like Steve said, if you're going to do both, you better have your suspension setups and know where you're dialing to each time.
Yeah.
Because
that's a whole different world.
Yeah. Oh, well, you want to set low. You probably just want to strap the suspension down, like compress it some.
Sure.
To get it to just be firmer so it's not as loose out there. Yeah, sway bars hooked up and everything. I mean, don't disconnect any of that stuff.
That sounds like a lot of fun, though.
But, oh, man, it looked like a ton of fun. And I talked to the owner of the series today, and he was saying that right now, and this is the one out on the East Coast, right now they're running 2 classes. They're running the pro, and then they're running the sportsman class. And the sportsman class is like the 7-800s, and I think he was on the fence if he was going to throw the 900s into the pro or leave them down in the sportsman class. And it kind of, a lot of that depended on the machine also. It's like, he said if the 900 has an exhaust and fuel programmer, they're going up to the pro row. If they're like a stock 900 that just rolled off the showroom floor, he said, probably leave them down in the sportsman class.
Sure.
So, because I've been invited to a couple more, like one down in Kentucky at the end of last year. It was at a state fairgrounds where they had a dirt track. And I talked to the guy, and he goes, oh, no, everyone's in one class. Turbo 1000s and 700cc Wildcats, everybody's in the same class.
Hard pass.
Yeah, I said, what's the point in me going down there and giving you the $150 race fee, entry fee, to get my tail handed to me? Because my machine is not built to do that. It's just not.
65 horse racing against 172.
Yeah, and that's the difference. Is you're talking about me giving up 100 horsepower to something that weighs only 200 pounds more or something.
And has, in some cases, almost twice the suspension travel.
Yeah. Well, suspension travel is not going to gain you a lot there, but...
No, that's true.
But still, I mean, just the horsepower difference and everything else.
Yeah.
And I said, just throw in another class. Make it an 800 and under class or whatever. I mean, something. And he was like, nope, we just throw them all together. I was like, all right.
That sounds like a fairground race.
Oh, yeah. I mean, would it have been fun? Probably. Will I go places just to run, to have fun, even if I don't think I'll have a chance of winning? Yeah, I'll do it. But I'm not going to give you...
Or even if we go just to get out of town and see something.
Right, but I'm not going to throw a $150 race fee plus all my travel. I mean, something like that, it's not uncommon. We've talked about it before for a race day to cost $1,000.
Oh, yeah.
In fuel and travel expenses and, entry fees and all that fun stuff, and hoping you don't tear anything up. I'm not really willing to pitch $1,000 just to go ride around your track for 45 minutes.
Yeah, and not have a chance of winning.
Right. Or be in everybody's way and just like getting lapped. I mean, it's different if you're reasonably competitive with some other people and you can have fun with it. But I can tell you no other 800s are running out there because no one wants to just get out there and get lapped.
No, and that's the type of stuff where that would be a whole lot of fun if you were in a Turbo YXZ.
Yeah.
Tons of fun. But yeah, I'm with you. Just being out there lapped and really the sensation of being in somebody's way and knowing you're frustrating what they're trying to do, there's really no worse feeling than that. I mean, if you're in somebody's way and they're in your own class because you're racing competitively, that's one thing. Just to be out there and be a speed bump, I hate that feeling.
Yeah. So for those watching the video, you just saw me grab my phone and look down. My wife texts me and she says, "Are you guys taping?" And I said, "Yes." And she says, "I have a stupid things with Chad." So I don't know what she's going to send me. So we'll see. I've done all kinds of dumb things.
Well, before we go there, we're getting pretty close to the time we want to move over to that. But last time you heard us talk about the Heartland race, the Heartland Challenge.
Yep.
And Steve, as promised, did get back with us. He says you register as a team of 3. You can switch between those 3 however you see fit. So you don't have to have one driver for the full 4 hours. But he did say he was in the seat for like 2 hours and 2.5 hours, and it went really, really quick for him.
Yeah, I can imagine it would, but 4 hours is a long time to stay 100% focused.
I like the fact that you can swap out.
Yeah.
I do like that. So that's going to be interesting. Again, I don't know that we're going to do it because we're going to be in a new machine, and depending on when that happens, maybe that's not the first thing we want to do with it, but we're definitely going to be there regardless, whether we're helping pit or maybe one of us is riding shotgun for a little bit and doing some co-driving. We'll be there.
Did you see Steve's comment about his co-driver? He said his co-driver got sick a couple times. I don't know if that means he actually threw up a couple times or what that means, but...
I was thinking, I never even got close to Queasy, but we never even got close to running a full race.
We did.
Well, the first one, yeah. I didn't remember being even remotely nauseous, so
No.
I guess I have the iron stomach.
Yeah, I'm pretty good about that stuff too, but I don't know, at 4 hours, what does your stomach start to do?
That's true, and it's different when you're driving than when you're just along for it.
Yeah, it is 100%
that should be interesting.
Different. So,
did your Chad thing come in?
I don't know. Let's see.
Well,
she sent something, so talk for a moment.
I've got a question I wanted to pose to you that we don't need to spend a lot of time on, but it was interesting, and it came up with me talking with another racer / sponsor. So, do you think that UTVs are going to be the future of cross-country racing outside of dirt bikes? Because Honda's no longer making an ATV.
Yeah.
Yamaha really is the only one out there who is. And you're starting to see a lot less emphasis on the ATV market. And if you're looking for a really nice ATV, you're going to drop $8 or $9 grand and then dump another $5 into it race prepping.
Yeah.
Now you're up into RS1 money.
Territory. Yeah.
And now you still need to do a few things to race prep an RS1, but
I would say less.
Significantly less. You're not tearing that thing down to bare metal and gusseting and doing all the stuff you really need to do to make a quad competitive.
Yeah.
There does seem to be a move away from ATVs in the sport market. So it was kind of an interesting discussion we had, and I wanted to see what you thought about. Do you think UTVs are eventually going to be the four-wheel future? I mean, dirt bikes will be around.
That's a good question, because even Rocket Ron, a suspension guy who is a sponsor out there at MWXC, he made the same comment that ATVs are going away.
It's weird to think about, isn't it?
Yeah, it really is. It's hard for me to think that they would ever completely go away for the simple fact of the price point to get into an ATV versus a side-by-side is so vastly different. I'm not talking about racing. I'm just talking about if you want to just go out and trail ride.
Yeah.
The price point, I mean, you can pick up a decent ATV, a relatively new sport quad for $4 grand, $4,500. I mean, really easily.
Well, what are you looking into? Let's say you get into a Polaris Sportsman 450. I know it's. I'm talking a utility quad, but that's what I'm asking. What's that cost you?
$4,000, $5,000. Depends how old it is and how beat, or if it's new, you're gonna. Well, I think around $5,500 you can get one new for one of the smaller, the little. Are they 570s, whatever they are?
The 450 is the small one if they're still
then it's
making
the 450s.
that. Yeah.
That's the ones Andy got because he was telling us, I think he got them for like $5 grand or just under.
So for the same money, you could be into a four-wheel drive, small displacement utility quad.
Yep.
And you were mentioning trail riding.
Yep.
Is that becoming more attractive to the average rider? No shifting, thumb throttle, get out there, put it in high or low range, whatever you think you need. You got four-wheel drive if things get sticky.
Well, I see those as two completely different classes because
but you mentioned trail riding specifically.
Right, but even guys who trail ride like to go fast.
Yeah. But again, you spend some more money, you can go fast.
Well, you're not going to make a utility quad fast. I mean, not the 450s.
Not the 450s.
But you get I'm saying, okay, if you're looking at, let's say $4,500 is what you have to spend.
Yeah.
That'll get you either a nice sport quad or a nice utility quad. I just see them as two completely different things. One, the person's just wanting to cruise the trails, maybe do some work around the yard or whatever. And the sport quad, they're wanting to go out there and push and jump and have fun. So it's kind of like, do I want a Polaris RZR or a Ranger?
Right.
They're two different things.
Yeah, but with the big players in the markets pulling back hard on manufacturing them, they're not seeing the sales, evidently. They're going to go where the money is.
I agree.
So it's just an interesting discussion. I don't know if there's a right or wrong answer, but it's a really interesting thought to think about a world where ATVs are taking a back seat to UTVs and dirt bikes.
Yeah. I was watching an older UTV video where these guys were riding around in them, and somebody made a comment about the, hooray for the golf carts. And, they obviously weren't golf carts. The guys had a Wildcat and a couple of Can-Am Mavericks. But, that was kind of the stigma about them at that time.
Yeah.
They're glorified golf carts.
And look at them now.
Right. They're completely not. You're talking about, 172 horsepower right out of the factory for the X3. I mean,
yeah.
That is not a golf cart.
No, that is most definitely not.
That is, you're approaching mini trophy truck status at that point.
Yeah.
So
it's an interesting thing that I'll be curious to keep an eye on as this season progresses and we go through a few more years. But there's definitely a drop, and so I think there's going to be kind of two financial classes. You're going to put a bunch of money into side by side if you have the money, and if not, you're going to be looking dirt bike, because you can still get a very competent dirt bike race ready for a significantly less amount of money.
Yeah. It'll take a long time, though, to exhaust all of the aftermarket and used quads.
For sure.
20 years or more.
But isn't it, again, it's kind of interesting to think about ATV racing becoming a scavenger series.
Right.
Like
the Banshees are now. The Banshee line.
Yep.
Two-strokers. So, yeah.
All right, man. What's your wife got for us?
She did have stupid things with Chad, and we'll get to that in a moment. But first, we must do your trivia.
All right.
Got to do the trivia.
Look at us being all timely. I think we'll actually not be like an hour and a half this time.
You say that.
No, we won't. I'll pull the plug.
So Ivan had a listener give us a trivia thing for you.
All right. Bring it.
You may not like it when you hear it.
I am not afraid to be a fool on the air. We've established that.
I'm not afraid to be a fool in public. Okay.
I'll
tell you when we get to the user submitted one.
Okay.
So what was the survival rate of serving on a German sub in World War II? What percentage of them lived?
Oh, so not time, just what percentage?
Yeah, what percentage of people that served on a German World War II sub lived?
Well, they were well built, but we sunk a lot of them. I'm gonna say 35% survived.
30. You were very close.
Woo!
Half an internet point.
That is a frightening. Yeah.
Yeah, how would you like to sign up for that one?
No, thank you.
Okay. How many left-handed people, which I'm left-handed, are killed every year from using equipment designed for right-handed people?
Not enough. Oh, wait.
That is not an acceptable answer.
It's going to be really low. 100?
2,500.
Really?
Yeah.
But see, you're kind of one of those weird lefties.
I can do things both ways.
Yeah, you write with your left hand, but you throw right, don't you?
No, I throw left-handed. I bat right-handed.
But you bat right.
Yep. I golf right-handed only because, growing up as a left-handed person, who has left-handed golf clubs? My dad's right-handed. Everyone else I know is right-handed. So I just learned with what I had.
Yeah. So you're kind of ambidextrous. That's why you're still alive.
I'm amphibious. That's not right.
Why does everyone run away from me?
Ralph Wiggum makes his appearance. How many seconds worth of fuel did Apollo 11 have left when it touched down on the moon?
Oh.
So, if it was...
Adam's going to hate me because I don't know.
Oh, I know. He's screaming right now at his radio going, it's this many seconds. So, if it had to fly to readjust or anything, how many more seconds could it have flown?
5.
25. 25 seconds.
25. That's what I said.
No, you're a liar. Wrong. Doug, don't lie. How many bananas would you have to eat to die of potassium overdose? This is a real positive and uplifting show today. I realized this.
I need to get up on my death facts. How many bananas would you have to eat? 27.
480.
I think you die of something else before you hit the potassium problem.
Probably, but that's how many.
Remember the fruit fly things? Bananas stop you up?
Yeah.
I think you'd have other issues.
Yeah, you would.
Oh, my word. Dude, I don't think I could eat 5 bananas in one sitting. They're pretty filling.
I could probably eat 5.
I might be able to pound it down. I don't think I'd feel good afterwards, though.
Whoever thought about feeling good? Psst, whatever. Okay, here is our listener submitted user. Yes.
Yes.
No.
You see now who's been in the tech field too long?
Me.
Yes.
Here's our listener submitted question from Ethan Perry. He sent me this yesterday.
All right.
I did not come up with this. What is the longest human poop ever recorded?
Oh, come on, Ethan.
It's a distance. It's not like a time.
Donald Trump's 6'3", so I'm going to go with that.
26 feet long.
No. Dude, you've only got like 32 feet of intestine.
Apparently it was up in their throat.
Oh, jeez.
Oh, I have to add
I'm done with the human race. That's what I'm saying.
I have to add this. It's really annoying. I burned my phone welding this weekend, and it's like right over where I always look, and it's annoying me. So I got to replace the screen. So anyway.
Somebody who buys one of our next set of tie rods, that's the sacrifice we made.
Yeah, I burned my phone. My phone was sitting 10 feet away. I don't know how it did it.
One stray spark or something. That was kind of weird.
Okay. Question number 6. What was the stage name of the member of Public Enemy who later had a reality dating show? The look on Doug's face, for those of you listening only, was like a deer in a headlight right there.
I don't know anybody from Public Enemy, so...
Really? Flava Flav.
There you go. Sorry, just not my scene.
That's not singing, it's rapping.
Yeah. No, I said scene, not singing.
I thought you said scene.
No, not my scene.
Okay, whatever. Here's another music one for you. I thought about you. What was the name of the first album released by the American rock band Bon Jovi?
Bon Jovi?
Yes! Good guess.
That was only a quarter guess. I was like reasonably sure that was it. But then the look on your face, I'm like, crap, it's going to be something weird. I'm going to have to guess something odd. I'm like, no, I'm going to go with my gut, because how many times have I not gone with my gut and I've screwed these up?
I love how I wasn't even trying to trick you with my face, and my face is throwing you off.
Your face always screams trickery or debauchery or something. It always does.
Oh, well, it's because it's usually what I'm up to.
I know. That's what I'm saying. I know you too well.
I am up to shenanigans.
Oh, jeez.
Created in 2009, what was the first decentralized cryptocurrency?
It was not Bitcoin. I don't know, something else.
Nope, it was Bitcoin.
Oh, yeah, I thought about that backwards. It was the first decentralized, yes.
Decentralized.
I got hung up on the first.
And
yep.
I did say decentralized.
You did.
Okay.
I should have gone with my gut.
My face didn't do it to you this time. This beautiful face didn't do it. Okay, number 9.
You know what's sad is I had 1.1 Bitcoin at one point.
Did you?
Like back in 2010 or 11 when it still wasn't worth anything. And I think there was only like 3 places in the world you could spend it. And one of them was
the dark web.
Yeah, basically.
I'm buying people today.
I could have bought like kidneys or whole people, but instead I think I registered a domain name because there was a domain registrar at the time that would take one, and they were only worth about what a domain cost to register for a year.
Now you regret that. Although Bitcoin has dropped, I think, lately in the last couple weeks.
Yeah, it's I think it's well under 7 again. I mean, not that I wouldn't rather have $6,000 instead of the $11.28 or whatever I traded it for, but you know, it just didn't look like it was going anywhere. And like, all right,
I think it's going to tank eventually anyway, but that's my opinion. Okay. Number 9. In the movie Terminator, which I'm trying to give you some that you would know. Okay. In the movie Terminator, what was the name of the company that created Skynet?
Well, crap. What was it?
I had a hard time remembering it at first because when I looked
Cyberdyne Systems.
Yes, it is. Yes. I had a hard time remembering that too. I was like, crap, what is that?
Cyberdyne Systems.
Yep, it was Cyberdyne. So I try to give you ones that are entertaining. And
I appreciate that.
Okay, and this one may be one that you know too. What was the first video game or first console video game that was allowed to be saved? Like you could save your progress. A console. I'm trying to give you a chance here.
Was it The Legend of Zelda?
Yes, it is.
Yeah, buddy.
Yeah, see, you did pretty good. Look at that. My wife is texting me more.
So many stupid things. Is it related?
I don't.
He's got his I can't read face on if you can't see because you're listening and not watching.
Okay, so she sent me one that we're going to do here in a second, and then she sent me this screenshot that says, I passed out. It wasn't her typing. There's someone else. I passed out this evening. It's the first time I've ever experienced it. Very weird feeling. It's somebody's post on Facebook. I'm like, who passed out? And why do I care? And you don't live an exciting enough life if it's the first time you've passed out and you're an adult. I couldn't tell you how many times I have passed out. There are probably years of my life missing somewhere.
I'm sure. I'm not convinced that I'm actually 6 days older than you. I think you're way older than me. You just don't remember all of it.
I just passed out for a few months.
Those years don't count.
Yeah. Okay.
All right. So is that the end of the trivia?
That is the end of trivia. Yes.
Not terrible. Go with your gut. I just got to keep pounding that in my head. I just said that, and then I was like, it's Bitcoin. No, it's not Bitcoin. It's something else.
Yeah, you did decent this time.
Yeah.
Would you get about half or so, give or take?
That sounds good. We'll go with that.
Yeah, whatever. So,
all right. So send us out with something stupid.
So my wife, it wasn't a specific thing, but it was more...
It's more general stupidity.
It's general of how dumb I am in life. So I will admit, school and I didn't get along so well.
That is a massive understatement. Your teachers passed you just so they wouldn't have to deal with you for another year.
Well, part of this, there's a story in there. So I just didn't like school. I didn't find any purpose to me going. My wife is a teacher, so that just adds more hilarity to the whole situation.
You're a practical application guy. If you can't see how it will benefit you because it's a skill you need, it
is a waste of my time in my mind.
Yeah.
And it may not be a waste of my time, but in my mind at that time, it's a waste of time. And why spend time on it, learning or anything else? So, and I tell my wife, she's an English teacher in high school, it's like, these kids will never use what you're teaching them. What you're teaching them is completely unimportant. And she does not like that at all. But anyway, so in high school, say the last 2 years of high school, my wife wanted me to tell you guys this. This is not something that I tell my children on a regular basis either. But so my senior year of high school, to emphasize how bad of a student I was, I turned in all my books the third day of school. They gave them to me. I gave them back.
Nice.
One of the teachers who I turned my books into said, well, what do you plan on doing all of the school year? Because they're like, oh, I'm going to trip him up. I said, I plan on sleeping. And they said, yes, I was that kid. I plan on sleeping. They said, well, I'll send you to the principal's office. I said, more paperwork for you, and I'm still not doing the homework, so you do what you got to do. They said, don't bother any other students. Gotcha. So they let me sleep. I was in a work... I keep wanting to call it work release, but that's what you do when you're in prison. It was like you go to work half the day of school.
Oh, so we'll call it apprenticeship program.
Yeah. I keep wanting to call it work release because I felt like I was in prison and they were letting me out to go work. So I did that. So I only had half a day's worth of school anyway. So we had to take economics in the junior year. My junior year, I refused to do the homework. I just didn't. I wasn't going to do it. I had to take econ 3 times. I eventually took it in night school, and I paid off the night school teacher for the answers to all the tests.
How much?
$50.
Night school teachers are not making a lot of money.
Nope, they were not. And they took my $50 and they were thrilled. And he just said, don't get all the answers right because it'll look really bad.
The state is going to come back for your diploma. Can they take one? What's the statute of limitations? Can they take one back after 20 years?
I don't know. What else did she send me? She sent me like 3 things, like all my stories that I always forget about, honestly.
Oh, my Lord. Kids don't listen to this podcast.
Yeah. And I will remind everyone that after all of this, I work at a university now.
True.
This is like the scariest thing ever. Married to a teacher, work at a university, had to take night classes to finish high school and paid off teachers.
If you think that A, God doesn't exist, or B, he doesn't have a sense of humor, Chad Shoemaker, everyone.
Oh, I am God's pet sea monkey. I am thoroughly entertaining to him, and I'm convinced that's why I get by like I do.
So fun fact, Chad does most of our Facebook posts now because we've gone through this. I don't like Facebook, and he does for some reason. So
I can interact with people without interacting with people.
Yes.
It's like I'm done talking to people and close.
But fun fact, you can spot my post because the punctuation is correct.
Mine is never right.
I use the right version of your, like Y-O-U-R versus Y-O-U apostrophe R-E. Like if you see that stuff, it's me. That's what's happened.
Oh, fully agree. I'm like, meh, there's one kind of your. It's Y-O-U-R. Close enough. They'll get what I'm going for.
I die inside a little bit every time I see it.
My wife, she'll see the Eminent Performance post, and she's yelling at me like at night because she checks Facebook at night and stuff, and she'll see them. And she go, did you post on there? Yes. You didn't spell this right, and that's not the correct usage of this. And
she actually said one time, I can tell Doug did that one because it's right.
Like many of you, I'm sure you guys are the same. I'm not a great speller. Like I rely heavily on spell check. I could spell a word correctly, but it's not the word I meant to use there.
If the point of the English language is to communicate ideas, you do that.
I do.
So there we go.
I does communicate well.
And on that note, thanks for letting us communicate with you.
My wife is going to be so frustrated if she listens to this.
You can find us on the web, assuming you spell it correctly, at eminentperformance.com. You can find us on Facebook /Eminent Racing, and you can find us on Instagram at Eminent Racing. Want to say thank you to our sponsors, Watch Communications. Once again, you're the reason we are able to do this podcast and have a website in the first place. Also want to say a big thank you to utv-doors.com. Speaking's hard. TGM Off-Road. And once again, our new sponsor,
UTV Engineering.
UTV Engineering. Thank you for coming on board and showing some faith in whatever this is that we're doing right now.
Yeah, I really do talk to most of our... Well, I don't talk to Watch Communications that often. I do.
That's mine.
Yeah, I don't get to talk to... Nick from UTV Doors very often. It's hard. He's Russian. I don't speak Russian. He doesn't speak English.
Yeah, it's Google Translate and hoping we don't set off World War III because we insult each other.
Yeah. But I really do talk to our sponsors quite a bit, and they all are good guys. And Mike, they're at UTV Engineering. I'm glad to have you guys on board.
Likewise. Thank you so much.
And I really do hope, and I'm not just saying this to say this, I really do hope we bring you guys some sort of value. You see the value in what we're bringing to the table for you guys, because I don't want a partnership where we feel like we're benefiting and you guys feel like you're losing out.
Exactly. No.
So I hope you feel the value, and if you don't, definitely get a hold of us and say, hey, I'd like to see this or whatever. And on that note, of communicating with everybody. I mean, I've said it in the last podcast or two. If you guys have show suggestions, if you have destinations you think we need to hit, I can't say that we'll get to them this year necessarily, or just, you want to chat. If you like the podcast, if you think it's stupid and horrible, hit me up on Facebook. I usually have it open during the day, and I'll chat with you as much as I can. Absolutely. Time will allow.
And if you can find it in our hearts to, if you listen to the podcast, YouTube doesn't really matter so much on ratings, but if you listen to the podcast on iTunes or Google Play or Stitcher. We're trying to get in with Spotify, iHeartRadio, any of those venues. They all have a rating system, and it does kind of matter there. So if you could find it in your heart to take a few minutes and give us a rating, even if you don't like it, we would really appreciate that. So
yeah, it does help, because what it does is it'll suggest us to other people who like the same kind of things that you like.
Exactly.
And it helps expose us. So it's kind of you guys, being that sponsor, that partner of ours to help get us out there, because we can't go and rate ourselves. It just doesn't work that way. So
exactly.
We need you guys to do that for us.
All right, episode 21 in the books. We'll be back next week with episode 22 and hopefully some interesting race updates from stuff that's happening this coming weekend. In the meantime, thanks for riding along with us.
Thanks, guys.
Tired of going down, tired of myself, tired of this town.